like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Help promote and rank up my channel so I'm late to the party, much like this movie is. But we're going to review Black Widow. This will be spoiler free, of course. This movie takes place after Civil War, in between Civil War and Infinity War. For some reason, let's talk about the positives real fast and then just get to the negatives. The positives on this one, the chemistry between Scarlett Johansson and newcomer Florence Pugh, or however you say her last name, it's off the charts. With their sister, like banter, but ultimately it's Florence that outshines Scarlett in this film, in her own movie. Granted, it's called Black Widow, so it's not exactly clear who the title character is. This movie is a bit more serious in terms of what it explores, but of course it is Marvel, so expect all the usual formula, jokes, and all that stuff you're used to. Taskmaster is somebody that comes off like a serious, threatening menace from Black Widow's first encounter with the character mopping the floor with her. Family dynamic is the most intriguing part of the film, from the darker, more serious stuff to the bizarre, let me parent you type behavior of these characters that have no business acting like parents. And when it comes to the action in here, it's the hand-to-hand stuff that is really, really great. It's really exciting to watch because this is Black Widow. She's not, so she may be an Avenger, but she's not some kind of superhuman. This film shines through those more grounded aspects, through those more grounded elements. There's excellent fight choreography, excellent hand-to-hand. Some of the other action works, but just not as well as the hand-to-hand stuff. But the film is full of flaws, and it's not much of a spy thriller, so let's talk about the negatives. Black Widow, the first film of Phase 4 in the MCU, and it exists for no other reason than to introduce another stand-in hero for an already existing one. Recently retired one at that. Same power set, if you will, no different than introducing new Captain America, Loki, Vision, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and the list goes on. And just a bunch of stand-ins. That's what the next phase of the MCU mostly has to offer. And this film in particular, it is just a generic, mediocre film. It's got bad CGI, and these characters, from a comic book standpoint, are mostly recognizable in name only. Baffling departures. Taskmaster being one of the worst offenses. They didn't really do much with this character. In terms of what they did with the character for this story, sure, it makes sense. But this story altogether, the story they tell in this movie, is it really necessary to provide closure? Or the only thing this film exists for, I kid you not, is to introduce the next Black Widow, introduce the other character, and pass the mantle off to her. It's not a well-balanced film. Tonally, it has a very dark start to making light of situations and going to absurd lengths in the third act to sell this smaller scale story as a huge blockbuster. Undermine themselves with that third act. And it's just full of stupid things, like the villain goes full James Bond, exposing all of his secrets and all that to boast. And it's a little bit unclear who's actually the Black Widow, the title character, because you have multiple Black Widows in here, and Natasha doesn't leap off screen like everybody else in this movie. They don't add anything new to the character or really do something different with the character. It's just more of the same Natasha we know, and it's everybody else that really leaps off screen in comparison. There's no reason for this movie to exist at this point in time, and it's so delayed that I feel like I seen the vast majority of the movie before I saw it anyway. With all the damn trailers, promotional spots, it makes you feel like you've seen most of the movie anyway. So what's there to be excited about? Maybe it's not really the fault of the movie. Maybe it's the fault of the delays and that it was gone so long. But this character's dead. This movie was delayed to hell and back, and it was a movie that should have already come out years ago, and it should have come. She should have had a movie before Captain Marvel had a movie, and it probably should have been the origin story of how she defected from the Red Room, teamed up with Hawkeye in the first place, rather than this. The film feels really uneven with the darker stuff, the more serious stuff, and then the dumb, idiotic jokes and the really bad looking, pathetic spy missions that don't come off even halfway competent. It's not a spy thriller, it's just a jokey MCU film that's very mismatched, tonally really uneven. Ultimately, I get this film a 5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on it. I did not like it. I think it's mediocre, it's average, it's full of dumb things, it's full of idiotic things, needless and unnecessary things. This film shouldn't even exist, but it does. And when I say it shouldn't exist, I mean, at this point in time, after all the delays and stuff, this movie is just really past its prime. It really missed its window of opportunity. Maybe it would have been great a few years ago, but as of right now, it's really like, why? Why? And this is the story you chose to tell. Why? But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think the film is completely unnecessary, like I do? After all, it's just a gateway vehicle for another character